Now we're going to talk real estate. When I talk to Mark, for some reason, his surname, I want to say Errichiello. But that's because that's what you eat. You eat Errichiello. That's what we eat in our part of the world. But his name is Mark Errichiello. I hope you don't mind, Mark.
No, I don't mind. Thanks for having me.
For some reason, I associate Errichiello.
I like Errichiello, yeah. As long as there's a lot of sauce and they fill up, yeah.
Yeah, well, they make it with rapi too. I don't like the rapi.
The
green
fagioli?
stuff. No, I just like the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, what do you eat? You know, like, are you an Italian food connoisseur that you...
Oh, yeah, I love to eat it. I'd love to say I could speak the language fluently, but...
well, if you were being invited somewhere and they said, you know, I want to cook you what you really like, what would you
Pasta,
have?
I like a really spicy matriciana or arrabbiata.
Arrabbiata.
Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah.
A bit spicy.
Yeah, Napoletana pizza with a lot of chili on it.
Like
anchovies.
Like a woman, arrabbiata.
Okay.
An angry one. We're going to talk houses now and real estate. We had another interest rate increase just this week.
Yes.
What's that, about 4 or 5?
It's hard to keep up, isn't it?
Now it's gone up 2%, I think, since the bottom. Anybody in trouble yet?
Oh, look, there's always someone in trouble. I think long-term people that are getting approved for lending now, and relatively, if you look at the history, we're still relatively low with interest rates. People are capable of lending if they can service loans and get a loan and source the right property. They're still going for it. If it's a good location, good property, they've still got a lot of competition. Not as much as, say, 6 months ago. Maybe, comparison, you might have 10 competitors to, compared to 2 now at a great property, for an example. But, still definitely people capable of buying. And I'd say inner city properties, there's less listings, and so people can hold on from selling, and there's a little bit more competition in tighter geographical areas.
Surely, though, prices have come back. And what would you estimate they've come back by?
If you're looking at a broad scale, average properties could have come back 5 to 10%. But again, when you look at the micro areas in good suburbs, even in a 30-kilometre radius, if it's a well-established suburb, good activity centre, good schools, good lifestyle centres, houses, for example, are still tightly held and haven't come back that far. And you look rather than looking at the macro and the bigger, broader statistics, look at the micro all the time. Study the area looking to buy in.
I like to look at the macro because then I know what's going on all over the place. And what they're saying is that by the time we're at the end of this interest rate increase cycle, prices are going to come back 20%. To me, that makes sense. At some stage, that's got to reflect itself broadly all over the place.
Yeah, potentially for the mass of properties, but there's still a selection of the right assets that won't, even these type of predictions before the pandemic, during the pandemic, they don't usually come to fruition, precisely. But yes, there's definitely been damage and decrease in some of the market. And I think 10 to 20% could be right for the mass market, the broader market. But not all of the good stock will be damaged that much.
What I'm hearing also is that there's a shortage of rental property. Now, I can't understand that really because we don't have the people, the population that was coming out to work in hospitality, the young Italians who needed somewhere to live, they all left. But apparently a lot of people are using their properties for Airbnb. So as a result of that, the pool of properties that are available for the long-term rental market is not there. Is that true, or are they just rubbish stories?
Look, in certain pockets, closer to lifestyle and activity centres, and now things, sports back on, other events are back on. Airbnb can pick up again. It was damaged pretty severely during the lockdown. I think there's a combination of things affected the rental market, but it is starting to improve. We're seeing that month on month. Migration's picking up slowly, investors starting to come back into the market slowly with some fair opportunities. So it will catch up with supply, but there has been less investors over the last few years, so that's affected. the market. A lot of owner-occupiers and first home buyers entering the market, taking up some of that investment stock that was sold. So they're taking the supply away. And now with interest rate rises, some tenants, rather than taking the move to go and buy, they think, well, we're not sure what to do. Let's stay in the rental market, and new migrants coming, and it adds to the competition. So give it 6 or 12 months, the yields will rise, and it'll probably attract more investors to come back in.
Mark, it's not that easy to own a rental property anymore because there's sharks circling all the time trying to take a chunk out of the money that you're making. Real estate agents, they're fine. They've been doing their job. I've got no complaint about real estate agents. They do the work. They take their percentage to manage the property. At the moment, though, what I'm finding is if you need some work done on your property by a tradie, they're charging you an arm and a leg. Some of them are even charging you to come out and do a quote. And then when they do the job, they just do whatever it is that they've agreed to. Like, for example, I've had this house. I've had to do most of the work myself because if I had the guy do it, he would charge me $10,000 to do what I can do in 2 weekends. I can't believe what I've been charged to do the work that he did. And if I calculated at an hourly rate, I reckon he was operating on $200 an hour. And like I said to you off air, if you want to charge brain surgery rates, train to be a brain surgeon. Otherwise, you're a maintenance guy. Are you finding that?
Look, we do. We manage investment properties. We've got a portfolio of properties that we manage for clients in the rental department as well. And you've seen that combination with prices rising. One, there's been the ripple effect from the construction industry with the some material costs going up, labour shortages, the construction industry suffering. So there's a lot of trades that probably been comfortable that you could rely on over the years. 10, 20 years we've been dealing with that. You deal with them in the rental department for maintenance, but they've been flooded with extra work required. And if their bellies are full and their workload and their scope of work's full, then they can quote higher, and if they get the job, they're making hay while the sun shines. Their
bellies are full because they've got a lot of work.
Yeah.
So if you go along and they give you a quote, a job that would normally cost maybe $2,000, and they say, oh, no, I'll do it for $3,500 because they don't really need the work.
Or they need to work extra overtime to fit that job in too, so they'll charge handsomely for it. And that, or say you got to get in early with the quote and the job approval because they're 4 weeks away from even starting. That's how thick and full the pipeline is. So you got to really, I guess, shop around, broaden the scope of people that can work on your slate. And then you've got the other aspect. Victoria, for example, 130 new rental reforms started coming in last year. They're all being enforced by 2023, the new rental compliance of electrical, plumbing, general
now explain
standards.
that. Every time you have a new tenant...
Yes.
It's once a year, is it, or once every 2 years?
It's once every 2 years for electrical and plumbing.
So you got to call an electrician to come round and check the wiring.
Yes.
Once every
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, plumber the same for your gas safety.
It's the wiring that's been there for 50 years, let's say. Isn't that a bit of overkill? Isn't that too much?
Well, it's the first, if it's a 50-year-old property, probably the first assessment will need some updates to meet new standards and safety, but then to charge the same rate for the same assessment every 2 years after that, if you've just spent a lot of money upgrading, it probably doesn't need as much of an intense
which
assessment
in the
in
end,
the next
what
2 years.
happens? Rents go up because they've got to go up to cover all those costs. So Daniel Andrews thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's not if he wants to give affordable housing. Their answer to it is to give government housing, isn't it? Public housing, but they can't build enough.
Yeah, you got to keep up with that.
Because they haven't got the money to do it either.
And where can they be built? Yes, you need a spread across regional, Bayside and metro. That's the other factor where people need to live to work and have access to employment.
So the new regulations are electricity every 2 years,
yes.
Plumbing every...
And gas safety
2 years.
Every 2 years.
And
smoke
gas.
alarm every year. And then you've got to sign off declarations. There's standard declarations as an investor now that you need to declare to the tenant that the property's in good and safe order. So there's quite a few other.
So just to open
items.
the door for a tenant, that'd have to be $700-800 a year just in those sort of costs.
Yeah, average, you can shop around. There's quite a few people entering the market offering these services now. You really want to make sure that they're credible, because we've
well, that's money for jam too.
Yeah.
They go, yeah, the electricity's all right,
Yeah.
The plumbing's all right. They don't even check.
Yeah, that's right. You want to trust them, make sure they're checking. Otherwise, you're just throwing your money away if they're missing stuff. But yeah, so about between $300 to $400 for the plumbing check every 2 years, about $300 to $400 for the electrical, about $100 every year for the smoke alarm, and then if there's other building maintenance like standard of the doors, the locks, all those other things that need to be up to code, that's you could be up outside of the checks. You could be up for a little bit of initial investment to make the property.
And
good.
landlords in the past, particularly being Italian, they always sort of did the job themselves because they can save a bit of money. But as you get older, you don't want to do that, Mark. So you're relying on other people to do it. So after a while, it becomes a pain in the backside to try and run these rental properties. So I can understand why people just think I've had enough. I've done all right. I'll sell.
Yeah, keep it. Well, if you keep a property in good order and refreshed, it'll be attractive in the market. That's the benefit. But yes, if you're not in a financial position to do it straight away, they're the clients that have difficulty because you're being forced to do it by 2023. And if there's new tenants going in now, it's already in place to bring it in good order. So it can be a struggle for some.
So are rents going up or not?
There's usually a transition period from the investment market and the sale market being affected. They are slowly going up. Improvement now, especially people relocating around spring, and there's a trickle of new migrants. We're not seeing a flush of the skilled migrants and the education sector flooding in like it used to at that rate. But I think by this time next year, things should stabilise. You'll see much stronger yields. I'm seeing it go up each month in the yield space, and we're probably just getting close to where we were pre-pandemic with the average rent.
And anybody wanting to buy, I guess, hold off at the moment, unless you really need to buy for your own lifestyle issues because you've moved, location or something.
Well, I know buying, you've probably got better opportunities now at fair prices with less competition. Why, if you've got the right place and over time it's going to get growth, why not buy in isolation rather than in competition? That's about, there's always sayings that are quite common, especially amongst buyers agents and colleagues in my industry. It's about time in the market once you purchase, not timing the market always specifically. And we're probably at a fair point now where you can negotiate on the right place at a fair cost.
Mark Errichiello, co-founder and director of Masters Advocate, licensed estate agent, buyers and vendor advocates based in Ascot Vale.
Ascot Vale was past career, but we're based in Essendon.
In Essendon,
yeah. Next neighbouring. That's all in Moonee Valley.
I think I make the same mistake every year. Every time you come in.
That's all right.
So it's in Essendon.
Essendon, yeah.
Right? Buying, selling, renting, the whole thing.
Yeah, as advocates, buying, selling.
And you've got tradesmen on tap that do the honest thing. You can trust them.
Yeah, good thing is we've been in real estate all our lives, second generation after my dad. So we've got tradespeople that we've trusted for decades, and others we've built relationships in the last few years as well, which we trust, which is good.
Excellent. Mark, thank you for coming in. I want to introduce you to my little granddaughter over there, little Grace.
Hello, Grace.
Grace has come into the studio with her father, Christian, my son-in-law. Christian, good morning to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Nice to meet you, Christian.
Little
Same
Grace,